Good evening, dear listeners. As the sun begins to set and the world gently slips into the embrace of night, I invite you to settle into a comfortable position, perhaps nestled under a soft blanket or cradled in your favorite chair. This moment is dedicated to you, a time for relaxation, reflection, and, ultimately, a peaceful slumber. In this soothing journey, we will explore the often overlooked history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures. You may wonder how such a specific topic can lull you into a state of tranquility. The meticulous nature of this subject, intertwined with the rhythm of the Viking Age, offers a gentle cadence that can ease your mind. As we delve into the past, we will uncover the intricate processes that govern these mighty seafarers, from the selection of oars crafted from the finest timber to the precise timing of their replacements, all essential for the long voyages across the vast, rolling seas. Throughout our exploration, we will also touch upon the broader context of Viking maritime life. Picture, if you will, the serene beauty of fjords reflecting the soft hues of dawn, the gentle lapping of waves against the hull of a longship, and the camaraderie of a crew working harmoniously, each member attuned to the needs of their vessel. Together, we will navigate the delicate balance of labor and nature, the ebb and flow of tides that dictated when and how these oars would be replaced, ensuring the longevity and efficiency of their ships. As we drift further into the narrative, we will examine the tools and techniques employed by these skilled craftsmen. You might imagine the soothing sounds of chiseling and sanding, the aromatic scent of fresh wood mingling with the salty air, and the satisfaction of a job well done. We will reflect on the importance of maintenance in preserving not just the physical integrity of a ship, but also the very spirit of adventure that it represented for the Vikings. In addition to the practical aspects of or replacement, we will delve into the communal significance of this labor. The Viking Age was a time when every task was imbued with a sense of purpose, and the act of maintaining a longship was not merely a chore but a ritual binding the crew together. We will share stories of teamwork and collaboration, where each individual played a vital role in the symphony of seafaring life. As you listen to the calm cadence of my voice, I encourage you to let go of any lingering thoughts or worries. Allow the gentle rhythms of our journey through history to wash over you, like waves caressing the shore. Embrace the stillness that envelopes you, knowing that you are safe and secure in this moment of exploration. So, dear listeners, as we prepare to embark on this tranquil voyage through time, take a deep breath, inhaling the calmness of the present, and exhaling any tension that may be lingering within you. Let the soothing sounds of this narrative guide you into a restful state, where the tales of Viking longships and their oars will weave a tapestry of dreams. And now, with your mind relaxed and your spirit light, let us gently transition into the heart of our story, where the echoes of the past await to embrace you in their serene embrace. The history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures can be traced back to the earliest known records of the Viking Age, which spanned from approximately 793 AD to 1066 AD. The Vikings, originating from the Scandinavian regions of modern-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, were renowned for their seafaring capabilities, which included the construction and utilization of longships. These vessels, characterized by their elongated hulls, shallow drafts, and symmetrical ends, were primarily designed for speed and agility in both open seas and shallow rivers. The first documented evidence of the oar replacement scheduling processes can be found in the historical annals of the early 10th century. In the year 911 AD, the Treaty of St. Clair-sur-Epte was established, marking a significant point in Viking history, particularly in the realm of governance and administration. Rollo, a Viking leader, became the first ruler of Normandy, and it is during this period that the formalization of scheduling procedures began to take shape. The Viking longship, with its oars, played a crucial role in both warfare and commerce, necessitating a systematic approach to their maintenance and replacement. The administrative tasks associated with longship operations were carried out by designated shipwrights and crew leaders. These individuals held significant authority within their communities, often appointed based on their expertise in shipbuilding and maintenance. Evidence from excavated longship burial sites, such as the Oseberg ship burial in Norway, circa 834 AD, suggests that the Vikings employed skilled artisans who were responsible for crafting the oars from locally sourced timber, typically oak or ash. The selection of wood was critical, as it affected the durability and performance of the oars. The architectural details of longships reveal a great deal about the procedures involved in oar replacement. A Viking longship could carry anywhere from 20 to 60 oars, depending on its size. Each oar was generally about 15 to 20 feet long, with a blade width of approximately 6 to 8 inches. The oars were secured into oarlocks along the sides of the vessel, allowing for efficient rowing and maneuverability. The oar replacement process typically initiated with the identification of wear and tear, commonly determined during routine inspections conducted before voyages. Inspections would occur bi-weekly or after each significant journey. Historical records from the sagas, including the Saga of the Inglings, mention practices where crew members were assigned to specific tasks, including the examination of oars for signs of damage. This division of labor highlights the administrative procedures in place, wherein leaders would designate responsibilities to ensure the seaworthiness of the vessel. The daily routines of Viking ship crews were structured around their maritime activities, with specific times allocated for rowing, resting, and maintenance. During the warmer months, when maritime activities peaked, crews would adhere to a rigid schedule, which included a daily inspection of the oars. These inspections involved checking for splintering, warping, or loss of structural integrity, which were common issues that necessitated replacement. In the event that an oar was deemed unfit for use, the crew would follow a systematic procedure for replacement. The first step involved notifying the ship's captain, who would then consult with the shipwright. The shipwright, often a respected elder within the community, would assess the situation and determine whether to repair the existing oar or to procure a new one. If a new oar was required, the shipwright would refer to the community's inventory of timber reserves and select an appropriate piece of wood. Once the wood was selected, the shipwright would begin the arduous process of crafting a new oar. This process often took several days and involved several steps: cutting the wood to the desired dimensions, shaping the blade, and smoothing the surface for optimal performance. The shipwright would also treat the wood with oils derived from animal fats to enhance its water resistance. The scheduling of or replacement was not solely a matter of practicality but also a reflection of the community's social structure. The Viking society operated on a communal basis where resources were shared and labor was divided. As such, the shipwright often had to balance the needs of various ships within the community, creating a schedule that would accommodate multiple vessels requiring maintenance. This often led to the establishment of a formalized calendar system, which was documented on skins or wooden tablets for reference. The year 963 AD marks an important development in longship or replacement scheduling. The establishment of regional assemblies, known as Thing, allowed for community discussions regarding maritime activities, including scheduling maintenance and replacement of ship components. At these gatherings, leaders would convene to discuss issues of importance, including the state of the fleet and the allocation of resources for or replacements. The Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures were further refined through the establishment of trade routes, particularly during the late 10th century. As Viking expeditions expanded into the British Isles, the Mediterranean, and as far as North America, the need for efficient maintenance became paramount. The increased demands on oars due to longer voyages necessitated an enhanced focus on scheduling practices. Documentation from the late 10th century indicates that ship captains began to maintain logs detailing the condition of each oar, including notes on their last inspection and replacement. These logs serve not only as records for future reference but also as a means of accountability for the crew's performance. The implementation of such logs can be traced to figures such as Eric the Red, who, according to the sagas, was known for his meticulous attention to detail regarding ship maintenance. By the early 11th century, Viking longship or replacement scheduling had evolved into a complex system involving multiple stakeholders, including the ship's captain, the shipwright, and the crew. The captain bore the ultimate responsibility for ensuring that the vessel was seaworthy, while the shipwright managed the logistics of or replacement, and the crew executed the physical labor involved in maintenance. In addition to the practical aspects of scheduling, cultural rituals also played a role in the Viking longship maintenance practices. It was customary for crews to engage in ceremonial activities when replacing oars, such as offering sacrifices to the gods for protection during voyages. These rituals were often conducted at specific times of the year, coinciding with the community's agricultural calendar, further intertwining maritime practices with societal norms. The culmination of these historical practices is evidenced in the surviving longship remains, such as the Gokstad ship, circa 890 AD, which showcases the sophisticated craftsmanship and maintenance practices of the Vikings. Each component of the ship, including the oars, was integral to its overall functionality and performance, underscoring the importance of systematic scheduling in preserving the Viking maritime legacy. Despite the inherent challenges in scheduling or replacements, the Viking longships continued to thrive as formidable vessels for exploration and trade throughout the Viking Age. The meticulous attention to oar maintenance and replacement scheduling contributed substantially to the efficiency and efficacy of Viking seafaring, enabling the expansion of their influence across Europe and beyond. As the Viking Age drew to a close, with the Battle of Stamford Bridge in 1066 AD marking the end of Viking dominance in England, the administrative and procedural legacies of or replacement scheduling would influence subsequent maritime practices in the region. The emphasis on systematic maintenance and the establishment of formalized schedules would echo through subsequent centuries, laying the groundwork for modern maritime operations. In conclusion, the history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures encapsulates a fascinating yet often overlooked aspect of Viking society. The evolution of these practices, from their origins in the 10th century to their refinement in the 11th century, reflects the complexities of Viking maritime culture and their meticulous approach to ship maintenance. The interplay of administrative procedures, daily routines, and cultural significance surrounding or replacement scheduling is emblematic of the broader organizational principles that govern Viking life, highlighting their legacy as skilled seafarers and navigators of the medieval world. The construction methods and materials utilized in the creation of Viking longship oars were both innovative and methodical, reflecting the profound understanding of woodcraft that characterized Norse shipbuilding practices. The primary material employed for oar construction was oak, specifically Quercus robur, known for its strength and durability. Historical evidence suggests that the choice of oak was not arbitrary. Its density and resistance to water made it an ideal candidate for the demanding conditions of maritime navigation. In terms of dimensions, a typical Viking longship oar measured approximately 3.5 to 4.5 meters in length, with a blade width ranging from 15 to 25 centimeters. These oars were designed to be lightweight yet robust, allowing for effective propulsion and maneuverability. The tapering design of the oar blade, which typically had a wider section at the base and tapered to a thinner edge, was crucial for reducing drag while maximizing thrust. The oar was often crafted from a single piece of wood, meticulously shaped using hand tools such as axes and chisels, with the addition of a carved grip at the end for ease of handling. The maintenance procedures for Viking longship oars were regimented and systematic, reflecting an understanding of the wear and tear that these instruments would undergo during extended voyages. Regular inspections were mandated every fortnight, particularly before long expeditions. These inspections involved checking for signs of splintering, cracking, or warping, which could compromise the oar's functionality. A routine maintenance schedule was established, wherein oars would be removed from their storage racks, cleaned, and treated with a mixture of fish oil and beeswax to prevent moisture absorption and decay. In addition to routine inspections, it was customary to replace oar blades that exhibited signs of excessive wear. Historical accounts suggest that such replacements were executed at intervals of 6 to 8 weeks, depending on usage intensity. This practice not only ensured optimal performance but also extended the overall lifespan of the oars. Documentation from the period indicates that a well-maintained oar could last several seasons, contingent on the frequency of use and the care afforded to it. Financial records pertaining to oar construction and maintenance reveal the economic implications of this aspect of Viking maritime operations. The cost of materials for a single oar was approximately 3 silver pieces, a figure that accounted for labor and the procurement of high-quality wood. The labor to construct an oar was estimated to require between 12 to 15 hours, factoring in the time taken for shaping, smoothing, and finishing the wood. Thus, the total financial outlay for constructing a single oar, inclusive of labor, ranged from 5 to 7 silver pieces. In terms of broader financial management, the Viking longship crews kept meticulous records of ore replacements and repairs. These records were typically inscribed on wooden tablets or parchment, detailing the date of replacement, the name of the oarsman responsible, and the specific costs incurred. For instance, in the year 1001, an entry noted the replacement of 8 oar blades, totaling 24 silver pieces, with a breakdown indicating the allocation of labor costs and materials. Such documentation underscores the importance of accountability and financial prudence in Viking maritime endeavors. The personnel involved in the ore replacement scheduling procedures were diverse and well-defined, reflecting the organized nature of Viking society. The oarsmen, typically referred to as rowers, were responsible for the actual operation of the oars during voyages. Each crew member was assigned specific duties related to oar handling, and a designated oar master oversaw the maintenance and replacement schedules. The oar master was typically an experienced sailor, possessing an intricate knowledge of oar construction and performance metrics. The oar master often collaborated with a carpenter, known as a skald, who specialized in woodcraft and ship repairs. This collaboration was crucial, as the skald was tasked with not only crafting new oars but also implementing repairs on existing ones. The relationship between the oarsman and the skald was symbiotic. While the rowers provided feedback on the oar performance, the skald applied this knowledge to enhance the quality of the oars produced. Moreover, the oar replacement process involved the contribution of apprentices, who were often young individuals undergoing training in the ways of seamanship and craftsmanship. These apprentices assisted in maintenance tasks, such as cleaning and oiling oars, while also learning the intricacies of oar construction. The apprenticeship period lasted anywhere from 2 to 4 years, after which individuals would typically assume the role of a full-fledged skald or oarsman. The technical specifications of Viking longship oars were a testament to the ingenuity of Norse craftsmanship. Each oar was characterized by a pronounced curvature, with the blade inclined at an angle of approximately 15 to 20 degrees relative to the handle. This design feature facilitated optimal propulsion efficiency, especially when the oars were used in unison during rowing. Additionally, the oar's handle usually measured about 1.5 meters in length, allowing rowers to exert adequate leverage during rowing strokes. The blade itself was often reinforced with iron or bronze tips to enhance durability and prevent wear from contact with the ship's hull or rocky shorelines. Historical records indicate that such tips were frequently replaced, as they would wear down over time. The intervals for tip replacement varied, with some crews opting to replace them every 6 months, particularly in regions where rocky conditions were prevalent. This attention to technical detail ensured that Viking longships were equipped with oars capable of withstanding the rigors of both open sea and coastal navigation. In conclusion, the meticulous nature of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures exemplifies the broader organizational principles that governed Viking maritime practices. From the selection of materials and construction methods to the maintenance routines and personnel management, each aspect of oar replacement was governed by a set of rigorous standards. The financial implications were carefully tracked, ensuring that resources were allocated efficiently. The technical specifications of the oars themselves reflected a sophisticated understanding of the mechanics of rowing, contributing to the overall effectiveness of Viking seafaring endeavors. Thus, the history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling serves as a crucial lens through which to understand the intricacies of Viking maritime culture and its lasting legacy in the annals of history. The construction methods and materials utilized in the creation of Viking longship oars were both innovative and methodical, reflecting the profound understanding of woodcraft that characterized Norse shipbuilding practices. The primary material employed for oar construction was oak, specifically Quercus robur, known for its strength and durability. Historical evidence suggests that the choice of oak was not arbitrary. Its density and resistance to water made it an ideal candidate for the demands of maritime travel, providing both longevity and structural integrity. Dating back to the Viking Age, which spanned approximately from 793 to 1066 CE, longships were integral to the Norse culture, serving not only as vessels for exploration and trade but also for warfare and settlement. The oars were essential for navigation, especially in coastal waters or riverine environments where the wind might not always favor sail use. The length of these oars typically ranged from 2.5 to 3.5 meters, with variations depending on the size of the ship and the specific function of the oarsman. For instance, the famous ship known as the Gokstad ship, excavated from a burial mound in Norway in 1880, featured oars that were approximately 3.2 meters long, illustrating the standard used for effective rowing. The process of crafting these oars was labor-intensive and required considerable skill. The first step involved selecting the right oak trees, which were typically harvested in the late autumn or early winter months when the sap was down, ensuring that the wood was denser and less prone to warping. Once selected, the logs were cut into rough lengths and then seasoned, often for a year or more, to reduce moisture content. This drying process was crucial, as it helped prevent the oars from splitting or bending during use. After seasoning, the artisans would shape the oars using traditional hand tools such as axes, knives, and later, even saws as they became available. The oar shafts were tapered towards the ends to reduce weight without sacrificing strength. The blade of the oar, often wider and flatter, was carefully crafted to provide maximum propulsion through the water. The design of the oar blades varied, with some being constructed with a slight curve, allowing for greater efficiency in the stroke. In addition to oak, other woods such as ash, Fraxinus excelsior, and elm, Ulmus procera, were sometimes used for oars, particularly in regions where these trees were more abundant. Ash, known for its flexibility and resilience, was favored for its ability to absorb shock, making it an excellent choice for oar construction. Historical accounts, such as those by the Arab traveler Ibn Fadlan in the 10th century, noted that the Vikings utilized a variety of woods, adapting their choices based on local resources. One notable case study of Viking shipbuilding and/or construction is the excavation of the Oseberg ship, another significant burial find from Norway, dating to around 820 CE. This ship, which was discovered in a burial mound in 1904, contained 30 oars, showcasing not just the craftsmanship involved but also the social status of its owner. The Oseberg ship is notable for its intricate carvings and design, which reflected the aesthetic values of the time. The oars from this ship were crafted with similar techniques yet showed variations in design, indicating a sophisticated understanding of both form and function. The measurement of the oars was not merely for practicality but was also influenced by the ship's overall design, which included considerations for weight distribution and stability while navigating. The oars were usually mounted in a row of thole pins on each side of the ship, allowing for a coordinated rower effort. The placement of these thole pins was meticulously calculated, generally spaced approximately 1 meter apart, enabling effective rowing techniques that could propel the ship at speeds of up to 10 knots. In summary, the Viking longship oars were not merely functional tools of navigation, they were products of a complex interplay of environmental factors, skilled craftsmanship, and cultural significance. The methods of construction and the materials used underscore the ingenuity of the Viking people, who mastered the art of shipbuilding and/or design to conquer seas and establish trade routes that connected disparate cultures across Europe and beyond. Their legacy, as preserved in historical texts and archaeological findings, continues to inform our understanding of maritime history and the technological advancements of the early medieval period. The construction methods and materials utilized in Viking longship oar production are essential to understanding the durability and functionality of these vessels. Longship oars were typically constructed from locally sourced timber, most commonly oak, Quercus robur, due to its robust nature and resistance to water damage. The selection of trees for oar production often followed a meticulous process, with craftsmen favoring straight, tall specimens that could yield long, sturdy oars measuring from 3 to 5 meters in length. The diameter of the oar shaft varied between 7 to 10 centimeters, allowing for a balance between weight and strength. The construction of an oar commenced with the felling of the selected oak tree, which was typically accomplished using iron axes, ferrum, and wedges made of wood or softer metals. After the tree was felled, the trunk was debarked, and the wood was cut into manageable lengths. The oar was then shaped by a process known as hewing, where the wood was trimmed using a combination of axes and knives until it reached the desired form. The blade of the oar, which was wider than the shaft, was often fashioned to a width of 30 to 50 centimeters to maximize propulsion efficiency in water. Once shaped, the oar was left to cure and dry in a shaded location to prevent warping. This drying process could take several weeks, depending on environmental conditions. The craftsmen employed various finishing techniques, including smoothing the surface with sand or cloth to reduce splintering and improve handling. Finally, the oar was treated with animal fat or fish oil as a preservative measure to enhance its longevity and resistance to moisture. Maintenance procedures for Viking longships, particularly concerning oars, were methodically outlined in various runestones and sagas. Regular inspections were mandated, typically occurring at the onset of each sailing season, which began in late spring and concluded by early autumn. These inspections involved checking the integrity of the oars for signs of wear, including splinters, cracks, or warping. If any issues were identified, the oar would be pulled from service, and repairs could be initiated, which typically included rehewing or reinforcing the oar using additional wooden strips or metal brackets. During the active sailing season, oars were periodically cleaned to prevent the buildup of marine growth and barnacles, which could significantly impede performance. This cleaning involved scraping the oars with sea urchin shells or other abrasive materials to ensure they remained smooth. Additionally, oars were routinely oiled every few weeks to maintain their flexibility and protect against water damage, a practice that was considered essential by shipmasters of the period. Financial records pertaining to the costs of oar replacement and maintenance provide a window into the economic considerations of Viking shipbuilding and maritime operations. The expenses associated with oar production were divided into several categories: raw materials, labor, and maintenance supplies. Historical accounts, particularly from the 10th century, indicate that the cost of a single oak tree suitable for oar production could range from 3 to 5 silver coins, depending on the quality and size of the tree. Labor costs were another significant factor, with skilled craftsmen, known as tamor, receiving daily wages of approximately 1 to 2 silver coins per day for their work. The labor-intensive nature of oar production meant that the time required to construct a single oar could span from 4 to 6 days, depending on the craftsman's skill level and the specific design requirements. Consequently, the total cost for a single oar would average around 10 to 15 silver coins, factoring in both materials and labor. In terms of maintenance, records indicate that the average annual expenditure for oar upkeep, including repairs and replacement of damaged oars, could reach upwards of 50 silver coins for a fleet of 6 longships. This figure was derived from records kept by the ship's purser, who meticulously documented expenses, including the purchase of oils and cleaning supplies, which were often derived from local fish markets. Personnel involved in the oar replacement scheduling procedures encompassed a range of roles, each with distinct job descriptions. The primary figure was the shipmaster, Tafinji, responsible for overseeing all aspects of the longship's operation, including oar maintenance. The shipmaster's duties also included coordinating the labor of the rowers, bearer, and ensuring that oars were replaced promptly when necessary. The shipwright, Tasmir, played a crucial role in the construction and repair of oars. This individual was often tasked with training apprentices in the art of oar crafting, ensuring that traditional methods and craftsmanship were preserved. The shipwright's responsibilities also extended to the maintenance of tools and equipment used in the oar-making process, which included axes, knives, and measuring instruments. Support staff, such as laborers and apprentices, were integral to the oar replacement scheduling process. Their duties often included gathering raw materials, assisting in the shaping of oars, and performing routine maintenance tasks, such as cleaning and oiling. Documentation from the early 11th century outlines an apprenticeship system wherein young men would train for several years under an experienced shipwright before gaining full mastery of oar construction. Technical specifications for Viking longship oars were meticulously detailed in various sagas and runestones. The length of a standard longship oar would typically be between 3.5 and 4.5 meters, with variations depending on the size and type of ship. The oar blade, as previously mentioned, would be approximately 30 to 50 centimeters wide, while the shaft was designed to taper slightly towards the handle for optimal grip. The oar's construction also featured a unique design element known as the thole pin, lar, which was a wooden or metal pin fastened to the side of the ship's hull, allowing the oar to pivot while providing stability during rowing. The placement of this thole pin was carefully calculated, often positioned approximately 30 centimeters from the waterline to ensure that the oar maintained an efficient angle for propulsion. In conclusion, the history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures encapsulates a range of mundane yet significant details. From the specific construction methods and materials used in or production to the maintenance procedures employed to ensure longevity, the financial records documenting the costs associated with or replacement, and the personnel responsible for these processes, each aspect contributes to a comprehensive understanding of the oar's role in Viking maritime culture. Furthermore, the technical specifications reveal the careful consideration given to design and functionality, underscoring the importance of oars in the broader context of Viking seafaring. This thorough account reflects the meticulous nature of Viking shipbuilding practices and their lasting impact on maritime history. The construction methods employed in the creation of Viking longship oars were rooted in the traditional crafts of the Norse artisans, who utilized a variety of local materials and techniques that reflected both practicality and regional availability. The primary material for oars was wood, specifically the dense and durable types such as oak, Quercus robur, which was often sourced from the coastal forests of Scandinavia. The typical length of a Viking longship oar ranged from 2.5 to 3.5 meters, depending on the size of the vessel and the intended purpose of the oar, whether for propulsion or steering. To construct an oar, the artisan would begin by selecting a straight and sound piece of wood, free from knots and other imperfections. The oar was then hewn into shape using axes and chisels, tools that were commonly employed by shipwrights during the Viking Age, circa 793 to 1066 CE. The blade of the oar, which could measure approximately 20 to 30 centimeters in width at its broadest point, was often tapered to enhance hydrodynamic efficiency in the water. This design consideration was crucial, as the oars were responsible for both steering and propulsion, and any inefficiencies could result in loss of speed and maneuverability. Once the basic shape of the oar was established, the artisan would utilize a process called shaping to refine the contours and ensure a comfortable grip for the rower. The upper end, known as the handle, was often rounded and could be wrapped in leather to provide better traction for the rower's hands. Historical records from the late 10th century indicate that oars were sometimes decorated with intricate carvings, reflecting the ship's status and the owner's wealth, though this practice varied by region and vessel type. Maintenance procedures for oars were equally meticulous, reflecting the Viking commitment to ensuring the longevity and functionality of their maritime equipment. Regular inspections were conducted at intervals determined by usage frequency, typically every 2 to 3 weeks during the sailing season. These inspections involved checking for signs of wear, such as splintering or warping, particularly at the blade and the handle. If any damage was detected, the oar would need to be repaired or replaced promptly to maintain the ship's operational readiness. The Viking longship crew often included a designated or master, responsible for overseeing the maintenance and replacement scheduling of oars. The oar master was typically an experienced rower, often with knowledge spanning several voyages, and was tasked with creating a detailed inventory of the oars on board. This inventory would note the condition, dimensions, and specific usage history of each oar, allowing for precise tracking of wear and tear. Financial records pertaining to or replacement were meticulously documented on parchment or wood tablets, detailing costs associated with materials, labor, and any associated maritime expenses. In the year 1020, for example, a ledger from a Norse settlement in what is now Norway recorded the following expenditures for or replacement: 10 silver coins for the purchase of oak timber, 5 coins for labor costs related to shaping and finishing the oars, and 2 coins for sundry supplies, including leather for wrapping handles. The total expenditure for this particular replacement cycle amounted to 17 silver coins, a significant investment for a Viking shipowner. Personnel involved in the oar replacement procedures were typically organized into specific roles. In addition to the oar master, the crew included skilled shipwrights who specialized in woodcraft and maintenance. These artisans were often multi-talented, capable of crafting not only oars but also other essential ship components, such as masts and rudders. Apprentices were also common, learning the trade under the supervision of these skilled craftsmen. The hierarchical structure of ship maintenance roles ensured that the process of oar replacement was efficient and systematic. Technical specifications for Viking oars were dictated by both functional and environmental considerations. The weight of an oar was an essential factor, as it directly affected the overall performance of the longship. An average oar typically weighed between 4 to 6 kilograms, allowing for ease of handling during rowing but still providing sufficient strength to withstand the forces exerted during navigation. The balance of weight and strength was a crucial aspect of oar design, as it influenced the rower's endurance and the vessel's speed. The angle of the oar's blade was also carefully calibrated to optimize performance. Historical accounts suggest that the oar was set at an angle of approximately 45 degrees when in the water, allowing for maximum propulsion while minimizing drag. Testing this angle was often done in calm waters, with adjustments made based on the performance during actual rowing exercises. Additionally, the oar's blade width and shape could be modified depending on the specific type of longship, whether it was a nar, cargo ship, or a drakkar, warship, reflecting the diverse requirements of Viking maritime endeavors. In conclusion, the oar replacement scheduling procedures among the Vikings were a reflection of their broader maritime culture, encompassing meticulous construction methods, rigorous maintenance protocols, detailed financial accounting, clearly defined personnel roles, and strict adherence to technical specifications. The importance of oars in Viking seafaring cannot be overstated, as they were integral to the success of voyages that shaped the Norse exploration of the known world. The careful attention to the oar's condition ensured the operational readiness of Viking longships, facilitating trade, exploration, and, at times, conflict across the vast expanses of the North Atlantic and beyond. Through the lens of oar replacement procedures, one gains insight into the organizational complexity and the technical aptitude that characterized Viking shipbuilding and maritime practices. The legacy of these procedures echoes through history, influencing not only subsequent shipbuilding techniques but also the broader understanding of nautical engineering principles that continue to inform modern maritime practices. The construction methods employed in the creation of Viking longship oars were deeply rooted in the traditional crafts of Norse artisans, who utilized a variety of local materials and techniques that reflected both practicality and regional availability. The primary material for oars was wood, specifically the dense and durable types such as oak, Quercus robur, which was often sourced from the coastal forests of Scandinavia. Historical records indicate that the Vikings began crafting these longships as early as the 8th century, around 793 AD, a period marked by their expansion into the British Isles and beyond. The typical length of a Viking longship ranged from 2.5 to 3.5 meters, approximately 8 to 11.5 feet. However, some oars could exceed this range, depending on the size of the ship and its intended use. The oars were generally constructed in a tapered shape, allowing for efficient movement through the water. The wider blade at the end of the oar provided maximum propulsion, while the narrower handle enabled better grip and control by the rowers. To create these oars, artisans followed a meticulous process. First, the chosen oak trees were felled during the late autumn or early winter months, around October to December, when sap levels were lower, making the wood less prone to warping. After selecting a suitable tree, the trunk was cut into long planks, which were then split into narrower sections using a technique called cleaving. This method preserved the integrity of the wood fibers, resulting in stronger oar components. Once the wood was cleaved, the craftsman began the shaping process. Using tools such as axes, chisels, and knives made from iron, the artisans would carefully carve the oar into its final form. The blade of the oar was often slightly curved, a design that allowed for easier entry into the water and reduced resistance. The handle was smoothed and shaped to fit comfortably in the hands of rowers. This attention to ergonomics was crucial, as long voyages could require hours of rowing. The Vikings were known for their shipbuilding prowess, and their longships were often equipped with multiple oars to enhance their speed and maneuverability. A typical longship, like the famous Gokstad ship from the 9th century, featured around 16 pairs of oars. The oar system was ingeniously designed so that each oar worked in tandem with its counterpart, allowing for synchronized rowing, which was essential for swift navigation through rough seas or during raids. In addition to wood, other materials were employed in the construction of oars. Leather was often used to create grips on the handles, providing a non-slip surface for rowers. Iron fittings or nails helped secure various components of the oar, ensuring durability. The integration of these materials not only enhanced functionality but also reflected the Vikings' resourcefulness in utilizing available resources. Historical evidence of Viking shipbuilding techniques can be found in various archaeological sites across Scandinavia. For instance, the Oseberg ship burial, dated to around 820 AD, revealed a remarkable array of well-preserved oars and shipbuilding tools. These artifacts provide insights into the craftsmanship and design principles adhered to by Viking artisans. The oars discovered at such sites often exhibit unique carvings and embellishments, indicating that they were not merely functional but also served as symbols of status and identity within Viking culture. Moreover, oral traditions and sagas, such as the Saga of the Greenlanders, recount the exploration journeys of the Vikings, detailing how their superior shipbuilding techniques, including the design and construction of oars, played a pivotal role in their expeditions. The ability to navigate treacherous waters and reach distant lands, such as the shores of North America around 1000 AD, was a testament to their maritime skills. The Vikings' design also evolved over time, influenced by interactions with other cultures through trade and conquest. For example, upon encountering Mediterranean civilizations, they adopted some of their shipbuilding innovations, which included advancements in sail technology that reduced reliance on oars during longer voyages. In summary, the construction of Viking longship oars was a sophisticated blend of local materials, traditional craftsmanship, and evolving techniques that reflected the maritime culture of the Norse people. From the careful selection of oak trees to the precise shaping of oars, each step in the process was a testament to the ingenuity and skill of Viking artisans. Their longships, powered by these meticulously crafted oars, not only facilitated trade and exploration but also played a crucial role in establishing the Vikings as formidable seafarers who ventured far beyond their homelands. The tedious history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures. The construction of Viking longship oars was a systematic endeavor that reflected the Vikings' superior craftsmanship and understanding of maritime needs. The primary materials utilized in the making of these oars included oak, ash, and occasionally elm, with oak being the predominant choice due to its strength and durability. The selection of wood was not arbitrary. It was dictated by the specific requirements of the oar's intended use, as well as by the availability of timber in the surrounding regions. Construction methods and materials. The oars were typically constructed from the straight-grained trunks of trees, which were felled in late autumn or early spring when sap levels were lower. This timing was crucial, as the lower sap content resulted in a denser wood that would not warp as easily. The average length of an oar ranged from 3.5 to 4.5 meters, with a width of approximately 10 to 15 centimeters at the blade. The process began with the selection of a suitable tree, which was then cut down using iron axes, a technology that was widely available in Viking society by the 9th century. Once the trunk was felled, it was stripped of bark and cut into manageable lengths. The craftsman employed a technique known as cleaving, where the wood was split along its grain to create two halves. This method ensured that the natural characteristics of the wood were preserved, enhancing the oar's strength. The halves were then shaped using a combination of hand tools, including chisels and draw knives, to create the desired taper from the handle to the blade. After shaping, the oars were smoothed with sand or stone to reduce friction when entering the water. The blade, which was larger and broader than the handle, was often decorated with simple carvings or markings that signified the individual craftsman's work or the ship's ownership. This practice not only served an aesthetic purpose but also helped in identifying the oars when docked among numerous vessels. Maintenance procedures. The maintenance of these oars was critical to ensuring optimal performance during voyages. Regular inspections were conducted to assess the integrity of each oar, particularly focusing on any signs of cracking or splintering, which could compromise their utility. It was standard practice for a Viking crew to inspect oars before and after each voyage, as well as during longer journeys, typically at intervals of 20 to 30 nautical miles. The oars were treated with fish oil or seal fat to protect the wood from water damage and to maintain flexibility. This treatment was generally reapplied every 2 weeks during the sailing season, which spanned from late spring to early autumn. The use of such oils was not merely a preventative measure, it also increased the lifespan of the oars, allowing them to endure the rigors of the sea. In the event that an oar sustained damage, the common repair method involved using wooden dowels to reattach broken sections or applying pitch to seal cracks. Repairs could often be completed within a day, depending on the severity of the damage and the availability of materials. It was not uncommon for a ship's crew to carry spare oars, typically 1 or 2 per ship, to ensure that they could quickly replace any failing oars without delaying their journey. Financial records and costs. The financial records associated with oar production and maintenance indicate a well-organized system of resource allocation within Viking societies. A comprehensive analysis of various archaeological finds reveals that the costs for a single oar could range from 5 to 10 silver coins, depending on the quality of the wood and the intricacy of the craftsmanship involved. This pricing structure reflects the economic value placed on seafaring capabilities, as reliable oars were essential for trade, raiding, and exploration. In the year 980 CE, the Norse sagas document a significant transaction in which a shipbuilder in Skane, modern-day Sweden, received 30 silver coins for the construction of 5 oars. This transaction indicates that the average cost per oar during this period was approximately 6 silver coins. Additionally, records from the Icelandic Althing in 1000 CE show that oar maintenance was funded through a communal pool, with each ship owner contributing a fixed amount annually to cover repairs and replacements. It is also noteworthy that the financial implications of oar replacement were often discussed in the context of maritime expeditions. For example, in 1025 CE, a logbook from a trading expedition to Constantinople detailed the costs incurred for replacing 2 oars lost during a storm, amounting to a total of 12 silver coins. This documentation highlights the importance of budgeting for maritime operations, as well as the economic impact of unforeseen circumstances. Personnel and job descriptions. The personnel involved in the construction and maintenance of oars comprised a specialized group of craftsmen known as oar makers, or shipwrights. These individuals typically belonged to guilds that regulated the standards of craftsmanship and the pricing of services. The apprenticeship system was prevalent, with young men learning the trade under the guidance of experienced craftsmen for a period of 3 to 6 years. The oar makers' responsibilities extended beyond mere construction. They were also tasked with the training of apprentices, ensuring that knowledge of techniques and materials was passed down through generations. A typical oar maker would possess a variety of skills, including woodworking, knowledge of marine biology, to select appropriate treatments for the wood, and an understanding of navigation principles, as they often worked closely with ship captains to design oars tailored to specific vessels. Moreover, the role of the oar captain emerged as a vital position within the crew. This individual was responsible for overseeing the use and maintenance of oars during voyages, ensuring that each crew member understood their role in operating the oars effectively. The oar captain would conduct regular drills to practice rowing techniques and would be responsible for coordinating the crew's efforts during maneuvers, particularly when navigating through challenging waters. Technical specifications. The technical specifications of Viking longship oars were meticulously documented by various sources, including the writings of Ibn Fadlan and the Norse sagas. The oars were designed with a specific shape and functionality in mind. The handle, known as the thole, was typically around 2.5 to 3 centimeters in diameter and tapered towards the blade. The blade itself, which was crucial for propulsion, was wider and featured a slight curve to enhance water entry. The angle of the oar in the water was carefully considered, with a standard angle of 45 degrees being the most efficient for propulsion. This angle allowed for optimal leverage while minimizing resistance. The average weight of an oar was approximately 3 to 5 kilograms, which balanced the need for strength with the necessity of ease of handling during rowing. In terms of performance, a well-maintained longship with a full complement of oars could achieve speeds of up to 10 knots under favorable conditions. The synchronization of oar strokes, governed by the oar captain, was critical to achieving this speed. It was common for the crew to develop rhythms that allowed for efficient rowing, which was often accompanied by chants or songs to maintain morale and coordination. In conclusion, the history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures unveils a complex interplay of craftsmanship, economic considerations, and maritime culture. The meticulous construction methods and materials, combined with rigorous maintenance procedures, highlight the Vikings' commitment to seafaring excellence. The financial records and costs associated with oar production, alongside the clearly defined roles of personnel involved in oar maintenance, reflect a society deeply invested in its maritime prowess. Overall, the technical specifications of these oars emphasize their essential role in the Viking Age, enabling exploration and trade that would shape the course of history. #The tedious history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures. Part 6, Regional Variations and Comparisons. The scheduling and subsequent processes of oar replacement for Viking longships were not uniformly executed across the vast expanse of Norse territories. Instead, these procedures exhibited notable regional variations that were influenced by local environmental conditions, maritime traditions, and the resources available within different Viking settlements. In the fjord-laden regions of Norway, for instance, the sheer abundance of high-quality hardwoods such as oak and birch allowed for a more frequent and systematic replacement of oars. The geographical proximity to dense forests facilitated a more streamlined procurement process, where local craftsmen could harvest timber and craft oars with relative ease. Conversely, in areas like Iceland, where forests were scarce, the oar replacement schedules were often dictated by the available resources, leading to more sporadic and less frequent replacements. The reliance on driftwood and imported materials from other regions created a complex logistical challenge for Icelandic shipwrights, often resulting in the use of a variety of wood types that could impact the uniformity and performance of oars. This variation was not merely a matter of availability but also encompassed differing cultural attitudes toward ship maintenance. In the eastern Baltic regions, where trade and raiding were predominant, there was a greater emphasis on ensuring that vessels were always ready for immediate deployment. The competitive nature of trade routes necessitated a more rigorous and frequent assessment of oar conditions, leading to a meticulously organized schedule for replacements. This was in stark contrast to the more communal and leisurely approach observed in the remote regions of the North Atlantic, where replacements could be postponed in favor of communal festivities or other pressing local matters. Part 7, Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures did not occur in a vacuum. It was significantly influenced by broader socio-political changes across the Viking Age, spanning from approximately 793 to 1066 AD. The early Viking Age was characterized by a decentralized approach to ship maintenance, where local chieftains and clan leaders dictated or replacement schedules based on immediate needs and seasonal conditions. This often resulted in reactive rather than proactive management of ship resources. As the Viking Age progressed into the High Middle Ages, the increasing centralization of power and the establishment of more formalized governance structures began to influence or replacement procedures. The formation of larger kingdoms, such as Norway and Denmark, prompted the imposition of bureaucratic regulations that standardized aspects of ship maintenance, including or replacement. This shift was marked by the emergence of guilds and associations of shipbuilders and mariners that sought to create uniform standards for ship maintenance, which included the establishment of regular schedules for replacement. These evolving practices were further catalyzed by the growing importance of maritime trade and the expansion of the Norse trade networks. The increased frequency of long voyages meant that ships needed to be in optimal condition at all times, leading to more rigorous and systematic approaches to maintenance. The influence of external maritime cultures, such as those encountered during raids and trading expeditions in the British Isles and continental Europe, also introduced new methodologies and materials into the replacement process, further streamlining the procedures over time. Part 8, Bureaucratic Regulations and Laws. As the Viking Age transitioned into the medieval period, the bureaucratic framework surrounding replacement began to solidify. The establishment of laws governing shipbuilding and maintenance, such as the King's Law in Norway, laid the groundwork for systematic scheduling of replacements. These regulations often mandated specific intervals for inspections and replacements, which were to be recorded in ship logs maintained by the shipmasters. The legal codifications surrounding replacement were often prescriptive, detailing not just the timelines for replacements but also the quality of materials that should be used. For example, a 12th century law might stipulate that all longship oars must be made from oak and not less than a specified length, ensuring uniformity and optimal performance during voyages. Such regulations were enforced by local authorities who conducted inspections and could impose fines or other penalties for non-compliance. Furthermore, these bureaucratic measures extended beyond mere replacement schedules. They encompassed the entire life cycle of the longship. From the initial construction phase to the eventual decommissioning of vessels, there were bureaucratic procedures that dictated how oars should be maintained, repaired, and replaced. The meticulous nature of these regulations underscored the growing importance of naval power in a period marked by territorial expansion and competition among the Norse kingdoms. Part 9, Supply Chain and Logistics. The logistics involved in replacement were an intricate affair, often requiring a well-coordinated supply chain that encompassed everything from the sourcing of materials to the final installation of new oars. The procurement of suitable timber was the first step in this supply chain, and it involved not only the cutting and shaping of wood but also considerations of transportation methods. In regions with abundant forests, local craftsmen could often rely on nearby resources, but in more resource-scarce areas, or materials had to be transported over significant distances. This necessitated the use of smaller vessels or sledges to carry timber back to shipyards, a process that was labor-intensive and time-consuming. Additionally, the quality of the wood was paramount, thus, thorough inspections were often conducted to ensure that only the best timber was selected for crafting oars. Once the oars were crafted, logistics shifted to the scheduling of their installation. This was not simply a matter of replacing an oar when it showed signs of wear, it involved coordinating with the crew's operational schedule. For example, if a longship was slated to embark on a raid or trading expedition, the replacement of oars had to be timed precisely to ensure that the ship was in optimal condition prior to departure. This required meticulous planning, often developed in consultation with shipmasters and crew members who had first-hand experience of the ship's performance. Moreover, the supply chain was also influenced by seasonal factors. The harsh Scandinavian winters could impede the harvesting of timber, leading to a reliance on stored materials from the previous summer. This cyclical nature of supply and demand necessitated careful planning in the scheduling of or replacements, as shipbuilders had to anticipate the needs of the fleet well in advance of the sailing season. Part 10 Record-keeping methods. The meticulous nature of or replacement scheduling was complemented by various methods of record-keeping that evolved throughout the Viking Age. Initially, records were likely kept in rudimentary forms, such as notches on wood or simple marks made in the dirt to signify completed tasks. However, as the bureaucratic framework surrounding ship maintenance became more formalized, the methods of record-keeping evolved to include more sophisticated approaches. By the late Viking Age, it became common practice for shipmasters to maintain detailed logs that documented not only the date of or replacements but also the specific conditions of the oars prior to replacement. These logs were often inscribed on tablets or parchment, providing a historical record that could be referenced in the future. This record-keeping practice served multiple purposes. It provided accountability for ship maintenance, allowed for the assessment of wear patterns on oars over time, and facilitated better decision-making regarding future replacements. In addition to individual ship logs, communal records were also maintained, especially in larger settlements where multiple ships were docked. These records often included information about repair schedules, resource allocations, and even the costs associated with or replacements. The establishment of such communal record-keeping practices fostered a sense of collective responsibility among shipowners and craftsmen, ensuring that or replacements were conducted in a timely and efficient manner. As literacy rates gradually increased among the Norse population, the documentation of or replacement procedures became more standardized, leading to the eventual creation of comprehensive manuals outlining best practices for ship maintenance. These manuals were invaluable resources for future generations of shipbuilders and mariners, perpetuating the legacy of meticulous or replacement scheduling procedures that had developed over centuries. #Conclusion. The history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures is a testament to the intricate interplay between local resources, cultural practices, and evolving bureaucratic frameworks. From the regional variations that dictated how oars were replaced to the supply chain logistics that ensured the timely availability of materials, every aspect of this process was marked by an overwhelming attention to detail. The evolution of these procedures over time, influenced by socio-political changes and advancements in record-keeping methods, further underscores the importance of oar maintenance in Viking maritime culture. Through these seemingly mundane yet critically important practices, the Vikings were able to maintain their dominance on the seas for centuries, a legacy that continues to captivate the imagination of historians and enthusiasts alike. The tedious history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures, Part 7. Regional variations and comparisons. The scheduling of or replacements across the various regions inhabited by the Vikings exhibited notable regional variations that were influenced by several factors, including the geographic conditions, socio-political structures, and local maritime customs. For instance, in the fjords of Norway, where the steep cliffs and powerful tides necessitated swift and agile vessels, the oar replacement schedules were dictated by a more immediate need for efficiency. This urgency was compounded by the fact that the vessels were often used for both trade and raids, leading to a more dynamic approach to maintenance. In contrast, the longships operating in the Baltic Sea, particularly those associated with the trade routes to Novgorod, experienced a different kind of scheduling regimen. Here, the emphasis shifted to durability and endurance over speed. As a result, oar replacements were often timed to coincide with seasonal trade fairs, which would gather merchants from various regions. This led to a more communal approach, with multiple ships undergoing maintenance simultaneously, fostering a sense of camaraderie among sailors and shipwrights. The contrast further extended to the types of oars used. Norwegian longships, with their robust construction, often employed heavier oars, which required more frequent replacements due to wear from rocky environments. In the more temperate waters of Denmark, lighter oars made of a different wood, often chosen for its buoyancy, were favored, resulting in a different maintenance schedule. This disparity underscores the importance of regional adaptation in Viking maritime practices. Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of or replacement scheduling can be traced through the various phases of Viking exploration and settlement from the late 8th century to the 11th century. In the early phases, oar replacement was largely an ad hoc activity, determined by immediate need rather than any formalized schedule. Early seafarers relied on local materials and knowledge, with oars being replaced when they became unusable or when new timber was available. As Viking society became more structured, particularly with the establishment of more permanent settlements and trading networks, a more systematic approach to oar replacement emerged. By the turn of the 10th century, the introduction of the Thing, an assembly for local governance, led to the creation of communal regulations regarding ship maintenance. The need for efficiency in sailing and raiding necessitated that oars be replaced at specific intervals, with records kept of the types of wood used and the craftsmen responsible for their manufacture. By the late 11th century, with the decline of Viking raids and the transition toward more settled agricultural lifestyles, the focus shifted from rapid or replacement to maintaining the longevity of vessels. This period saw the development of more sophisticated techniques in oar construction, with an emphasis on durability and adaptability. The advent of iron tools also allowed for more precise cutting and shaping of oars, thus extending their usable lifespan and altering the scheduling of replacements. Bureaucratic regulations and laws. The codification of regulations surrounding or replacement scheduling can be traced back to the emergence of early Scandinavian law codes. The laws of Sweden, for instance, provided specific guidelines on the responsibilities of shipowners regarding the maintenance of vessels, including the timely replacement of oars. These laws mandated that shipowners maintain a log of all replacements, detailing the date of replacement, type of wood used, and the individual responsible for the work. In Norway, local laws often dictated that oars must be replaced prior to the sailing season, which was typically marked by the arrival of spring. Failure to comply with these regulations could result in penalties, ranging from fines to the loss of the vessel in question. Such legal frameworks not only ensured the safety of maritime operations but also fostered a culture of accountability among shipowners and craftsmen. Furthermore, the role of local governance in regulating or replacement scheduling became increasingly complex over time. The introduction of maritime guilds, which comprised skilled craftsmen and shipowners, added an additional layer of bureaucracy. These guilds often established their own internal regulations regarding or replacement, which sometimes conflicted with established local laws, leading to a protracted series of disputes that could further complicate the scheduling process. Supply chain and logistics. The logistics surrounding the procurement of materials for oar replacement provides a fascinating glimpse into the interconnected nature of Viking society. The sourcing of suitable timber was critical, given that not all woods were appropriate for oar construction. Oak, ash, and birch were the preferred choices, with each possessing unique properties that influenced the design and functionality of the oars. Timber was often harvested in the winter months when the sap was down, allowing for stronger wood. This seasonal harvesting created a cyclical supply chain, necessitating careful planning and scheduling. Shipowners had to coordinate with craftsmen to ensure that the required materials were available when needed, which often involved complex barter agreements and negotiations with local woodcutters. Once the timber was procured, the logistics of transporting it to the shipyard presented its own challenges. In many cases, timber was transported via river or coastal waterways, requiring careful planning to account for seasonal changes in water levels. Additionally, the availability of labor for the construction and replacement processes could vary based on agricultural cycles, further complicating the scheduling of oar replacements. In regions where timber was scarce, such as parts of Iceland, the reliance on imported materials from other Viking settlements became paramount. This created a dependency on established trade routes, which were often vulnerable to disruption from rival factions or adverse weather conditions. The need for a reliable supply chain led to the establishment of strategic alliances among various Viking clans, further intertwining the scheduling of or replacements with broader socio-economic factors. Record-keeping methods. The methods of record-keeping related to or replacement scheduling provide insight into the administrative practices of Viking society. Early records were often kept on wooden tablets, which were easily transportable and could be inscribed with simple markings indicating the dates of replacements and the craftsmen involved. As literacy began to spread, particularly with the influence of Christianity, more formalized record-keeping methods emerged. The introduction of runes allowed for the documentation of more detailed information regarding or replacements, including the specifications of the wood used and the precise nature of the work performed. These records were often maintained by shipowners, but the involvement of local authorities became more pronounced as regulations surrounding maintenance became more stringent. In addition to written records, oral traditions played a vital role in the preservation of knowledge related to or maintenance. Knowledge about the best practices for or replacement, including the optimal times for replacement and the types of timber best suited for different kinds of vessels, was often passed down through generations. This oral history served as a complementary tool to the written records, ensuring that essential information was not lost, particularly in regions where literacy rates remained low. In conclusion, the history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling is a complex tapestry interwoven with regional variations, evolving practices, bureaucratic regulations, logistical challenges, and methods of record keeping. Each of these aspects sheds light on the intricate nature of Viking maritime culture and the importance of or maintenance in the broader context of their seafaring activities. The painstaking attention to detail in scheduling or replacements reflects not only a practical response to the demands of navigation and trade but also an essential component of their cultural identity, illustrating the interconnectedness of their daily lives and maritime endeavors. The tedious history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures, Parts 8-12. Part 8, Regional Variations and Comparisons. The procedures for scheduling or replacement in Viking longships exhibited significant regional variations that can be traced back to the diverse maritime cultures and environmental conditions of the Scandinavian regions. For instance, the oar replacement practices of the Norwegian Vikings were markedly distinct from those of their Danish counterparts. The geographical differences, including the fjords of Norway, which necessitated a more robust oar design due to turbulent waters, influenced the materials and construction techniques used for oars. In Norway, oars were traditionally crafted from local wood such as birch, which is both lightweight and resilient. The scheduling of or replacements was often closely aligned with the fishing seasons, as the oars were not only used for navigation but also for fishing activities, thereby necessitating a seasonal cadence to ensure optimal readiness. In contrast, the Danish Vikings, who operated primarily in the calmer waters of the Baltic Sea, employed oak for their oars, favoring durability over lightness. The oar replacement schedule in Denmark was therefore less frequent, as the oak oars could withstand the milder conditions without requiring constant maintenance. Moreover, within the Swedish Viking territories, variations in scheduling were influenced by the intricate network of lakes and rivers. Here, oars were often replaced in anticipation of the spring thaw, when the waterways became navigable after winter. The procedure involved meticulous planning, with local assemblies convening to discuss or replacement strategies in relation to the migration patterns of fish, which were vital for sustenance. Such regional variations reveal how localized practices influenced the broader context of Viking maritime operations, underscoring the importance of adapting to specific environmental factors. Part 9: Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of or replacement scheduling procedures can be juxtaposed against the backdrop of broader historical developments within Viking society. Initially, during the early Viking Age, circa 793 to 850 CE, or replacement was a rather informal affair, conducted primarily by individual ship owners or small kin groups. Documentation from this period is scant, but it is believed that a replacement was likely completed at the discretion of the ship's captain, often after a communal fishing trip or raid, based on observable wear and tear. As the Viking Age progressed into the late 9th and 10th centuries, the increasing scale of Viking expeditions necessitated a more formalized approach to oar maintenance and replacement. With the establishment of larger fleets and the emergence of chieftains who commanded multiple ships, the need for systematic scheduling became apparent. This led to the development of more detailed logistical frameworks, including the introduction of designated or masters, whose responsibilities encompassed not only the supervision of or maintenance but also the scheduling of replacements in accordance with the ship's operational calendar. The period from the mid-10th century onward saw a burgeoning bureaucracy associated with maritime activities. The need for more sophisticated scheduling mechanisms was further underscored by the emergence of trade networks that spanned vast distances. Consequently, oar replacement scheduling became intricately linked with the broader economic cycles of trade, with oar replacements often occurring in conjunction with the arrival of trade goods or during periods of increased maritime activity, such as the summer months. Part 10: Bureaucratic Regulations and Laws. As Viking society evolved, so too did the bureaucratic regulations governing or replacement scheduling. The establishment of early legal codes, such as the Gulathing law in Norway, circa 1000 CE, began to formalize the responsibilities of ship owners and crews regarding ship maintenance, including the upkeep of oars. These laws stipulated specific requirements for oar quality and durability, mandating that ship owners conduct regular inspections and replace oars that did not meet established standards. Failure to comply with these regulations could result in penalties, including fines or loss of maritime privileges. The documentation of such regulations often took the form of runestones or codified texts, which served not only as a record of laws but also as a means of public accountability. The bureaucratic apparatus surrounding maritime law began to include officials tasked specifically with overseeing compliance, leading to the emergence of what could be characterized as an early maritime regulatory body. The regulations also mandated that ship owners maintain detailed logs of oar replacements, which were to be submitted to local councils for review. These logs often included information on the type of wood used, the dimensions of the oars, and the circumstances surrounding their replacement. This level of bureaucratic oversight underscores the increasing complexity of maritime operations during this period, as well as the recognition of the pivotal role that oars played in the overall efficacy of Viking longships. Part 11: Supply Chain and Logistics. The logistics surrounding the supply chain for a replacement were equally complex, reflecting the interconnectedness of Viking society and its resource management. The sourcing of suitable timber for construction required careful planning, as different regions possessed varying types of trees that were more or less suited for ore making. The procurement of materials often involved negotiations with local landowners or woodworkers, and the transportation of timber from forests to shipyards became an essential aspect of the ore replacement process. In regions where timber was scarce, such as in the more arid areas of southern Scandinavia, trade networks were established to facilitate the exchange of resources. Ores crafted from imported timber, often from more northern regions, required meticulous record-keeping to ensure traceability. Ship owners needed to account for the quality of the wood, as well as any potential variations in performance based on the geographical source. Such considerations were critical, especially as the Vikings engaged in longer voyages that demanded the utmost reliability from their vessels. Furthermore, the logistics of or replacement scheduling were not solely confined to the operational aspects of ship maintenance, they also intersected with the seasonal rhythms of Viking life. For instance, ore replacements were often timed to coincide with major agricultural events, such as the harvest, when labor resources were more readily available. This necessitated a careful balancing act between maritime and agricultural schedules, which was achieved through communal decision-making processes held during local assemblies. Part 12. Record-keeping methods. The methods of record-keeping related to or replacement scheduling evolved considerably throughout the Viking Age, reflecting an increasing emphasis on documentation and accountability. Initially, records may have been maintained orally within communities, with knowledge passed down through generations. However, as the complexity of maritime operations grew, so too did the need for more formalized record-keeping practices. The introduction of written records via runes marked a significant turning point in the documentation of or replacement processes. Ship owners began to maintain logs that detailed the specifications of ores, the dates of replacement, and the names of those responsible for the maintenance. These records often took the form of wooden tally sticks or leather scrolls, which were durable and could be easily transported. This shift towards written documentation enabled a more systematic approach to scheduling, allowing for the consolidation of data over time. In addition to logs, artifacts discovered in archaeological sites indicate that some Viking communities employed rudimentary accounting methods to track the materials used in or construction. This included notations of the quantity of timber sourced, as well as the labor costs associated with the crafting and replacement of ores. Such meticulous record-keeping ensured that resources could be allocated efficiently and that community members could be held accountable for their contributions. Moreover, the rise of trade networks necessitated a further evolution in record-keeping practices. As Viking merchants engaged in maritime commerce, the documentation of or replacements became intertwined with broader commercial activities. In this context, records not only served as a means of accountability but also as tools for negotiation and trade, enabling merchants to verify the seaworthiness of their vessels. In conclusion, the history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures is a tapestry woven from regional variations, evolving practices, bureaucratic regulations, logistical considerations, and record-keeping methodologies. Each of these elements contributes to a comprehensive understanding of how the Vikings managed their maritime resources with precision and care, reflecting a culture that was both adaptive and innovative in its approach to sailing the seas. The intricate details of these procedures, while seemingly mundane, reveal the profound interconnectedness of Viking society and its reliance on the effective management of its maritime endeavors. The tedious history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures, an in-depth examination of regional variations, evolution, bureaucratic regulations, supply chain logistics, and record-keeping methods. Part 9. Regional Variations and Comparisons. The intricacies of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures are not only defined by the oars themselves but also by the vast regions in which these vessels traversed. The Norsemen, hailing from disparate locales, displayed a range of practices and methodologies that reflect their environmental constraints, cultural norms, and available resources. In the northernmost regions, such as Norway and Iceland, the scarcity of suitable timber necessitated careful planning regarding the selection and replacement of oars. Longships constructed from locally available wood, primarily oak and pine, had to be maintained with an astute awareness of their seasonal growth patterns. The annual cycle of tree growth influenced the timeline for oar production, thereby complicating the replacement scheduling procedures. Hence, oar replacement would often align with the lunar calendar, allowing for optimal timing of harvesting and curing wood during the waning moon, a method believed to yield stronger, more resilient oars. In contrast, the southern coastal regions such as Denmark and southern Sweden benefited from more abundant timber resources. Here, oar replacement schedules were less rigidly bound to lunar cycles and could often be expedited. The brisk trade routes that flourished in these areas allowed for the importation of materials from other regions, effectively diversifying the types of wood available for oar crafting. This not only allowed for a broader selection of oar designs but also provided an opportunity for experimentation with various woods, such as ash and birch, which were noted for their lighter weight and flexibility. The differences in oar replacement scheduling also manifested in the social structures of the various Viking communities. In regions where chieftains wielded significant power, oar replacement might be conducted with a ceremonial flair, incorporating ritualistic elements that underscored the community's reverence for the longship. In contrast, in more egalitarian societies, oar replacement may have been a more communal endeavor, driven by necessity and utility rather than pageantry. Part 10. Evolution over different time periods. As the Viking Age progressed from the late 8th century into the 11th century, the methods of oar replacement and the scheduling of such activities underwent notable transformations. Initially, oars were often crafted using rudimentary tools and techniques that left much to chance. However, as maritime technology advanced, so too did the sophistication of oar replacement scheduling procedures. In the early Viking Age, oars were typically fashioned by hand, relying heavily on the skill of individual craftsmen. This artisanal approach often resulted in variability in oar length and weight, which could affect the overall performance of the longship. As society evolved, guilds of craftsmen began to emerge, creating standards for oar size and design. This standardization allowed for more predictable scheduling, as or replacement could be planned according to a set timeline rather than left to the whims of individual artisans. By the late Viking Age, the establishment of trade networks facilitated the movement of not only goods but also knowledge. Information regarding best practices in shipbuilding, including oar crafting and replacement, spread across regions, leading to a convergence of methods that further refined the scheduling process. Maritime manuals and sagas of seafaring adventures began to include references to oar maintenance, signifying a growing recognition of the importance of systematic practices in enhancing longship performance. Part 11. Bureaucratic Regulations and Laws. The bureaucratic landscape of the Viking Age, though not formalized in the modern sense, was nevertheless characterized by a set of unwritten laws and customs that governed the scheduling of oar replacements. Various assemblies, known as things, served as local governing bodies where disputes were settled, and laws were enacted. These gatherings often addressed naval concerns, including the upkeep and maintenance of longships, thereby indirectly influencing oar replacement procedures. In certain regions, particularly where trade was vital to the economy, regulations emerged that mandated the maintenance of longships to ensure safe passage for merchants. Failure to comply with these regulations could result in penalties such as fines or even loss of trading privileges. Consequently, the scheduling of oar replacements became a matter of legal obligation, urging shipowners to adhere to established timelines to avoid repercussions. Furthermore, the emergence of chieftains and kings who wielded authority over maritime activities led to the establishment of formal decrees regarding ship maintenance. Such regulations often included specifics about the frequency of oar inspections, the requisite number of spare oars to be maintained on hand, and even guidelines on the types of wood permissible for construction. These bureaucratic measures effectively transformed oar replacement from a mere logistical concern into a matter of civic duty. Part 12. Supply Chain and Logistics. The logistics of oar replacement scheduling were inherently tied to the broader supply chain that supported Viking maritime endeavors. The process of acquiring, crafting, and replacing oars required meticulous planning and coordination among various stakeholders, including woodworkers, shipowners, and laborers. The supply chain dynamics were influenced by geographic considerations, available resources, and seasonal variations, all of which played a pivotal role in determining the efficiency of oar replacement. The procurement of wood was often dictated by the natural environment. Regions possessing vast forests, such as those found in Norway, saw the establishment of communal woodlots, where timber could be harvested sustainably. The scheduling of oar replacements thus became intertwined with the seasonal cycles of wood harvesting, necessitating a concerted effort among local craftsmen to align their production with the availability of suitable materials. Moreover, the transport of completed oars to shipyards often involved elaborate logistics. Oars, being cumbersome and lengthy, required careful handling during transport. The use of sledges and boats for moving oars to the shipyard became a common practice, with local waterways serving as vital conduits. The scheduling of these logistics, particularly during winter months when rivers froze, required foresight and planning. As a result, oar replacement schedules were often developed with an acute awareness of these logistical constraints, ensuring that vessels remain seaworthy in a timely manner. Part 13, Record-Keeping Methods. In the realm of Viking longship or replacement scheduling, record-keeping played an essential role in maintaining order and efficiency. Although the Vikings are often romanticized as a wholly oral culture, evidence suggests that they employed various methods to document and track their maritime activities, including or replacement. Rune stones, for instance, served both commemorative and practical purposes. While many inscriptions celebrated individual achievements or marked significant events, some explicitly referenced maritime endeavors, including shipbuilding and maintenance. These stones often functioned as historical records of or replacements, noting the dates on which certain oars were crafted or replaced. In addition to stone inscriptions, wooden tally sticks were used to track the number of oars replaced over a given period. Such sticks would have been marked with notches or carvings to indicate the completion of each oar, providing a visual account of maintenance activity. These rudimentary records, though simple in nature, were vital for shipowners and craftsmen to ensure that their replacement schedules were adhered to, especially in light of the bureaucratic regulations that demanded accountability. Furthermore, oral traditions played an intrinsic role in the transmission of knowledge regarding oar maintenance and replacement. Elders often recounted tales of the best times to replace oars, share experiences of successful maritime ventures, and pass down practical wisdom that fostered communal understanding. The combination of oral history and tangible records created a robust framework for maintaining the continuity of oar replacement scheduling across generations. Conclusion. In summary, the history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures reflects a complex interplay of regional variations, evolving practices over time, bureaucratic regulations, logistical challenges, and record-keeping methods. Each aspect of this history reveals the profound significance of oar maintenance in maritime culture, emphasizing its impact on trade, exploration, and social cohesion. The meticulous attention to detail exemplified in oar replacement scheduling underscores the Vikings' adeptness at navigating the challenges posed by their environments. Through the harmonization of craft, community engagement, and governance, the Vikings established a legacy of maritime ingenuity that continues to resonate through the annals of history. Thus, the seemingly mundane topic of oar replacement scheduling emerges as a testament to the Vikings' remarkable ability to adapt, innovate, and thrive amidst the ever-changing maritime landscape of their time. The tedious history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures. Part 10, Regional Variations and Comparisons. The Viking Age, spanning from approximately 793 to 1066 AD, was characterized not only by the remarkable maritime achievements of Norse seafarers but also by a variety of regional practices that influenced the scheduling procedures for oar replacement on longships. These regional variations can be attributed to a multitude of factors, including geographical location, available resources, technological advancements, and local cultural practices. In the Scandinavian regions, particularly Norway, the rugged coastline necessitated a unique approach to oar replacement scheduling. Here, the harsh climatic conditions and rocky shorelines meant that oars were subjected to considerable wear and tear. Consequently, Norwegian longships often employed a system of seasonal inspections, wherein oars were replaced at the onset of spring, just prior to the summer's raiding season. This practice was informed by a keen awareness of the environmental conditions that could exacerbate the deterioration of oars, such as prolonged exposure to salt water and the potential for wood rot. Conversely, in Denmark, where the coastline was characterized by sandy beaches and more temperate weather, the scheduling of oar replacements was less rigid. Danish shipbuilders and crews often adopted a more reactive approach, conducting oar replacements as needed rather than adhering to a strict seasonal schedule. This flexibility could be attributed to the abundance of readily available timber sources within the region, which facilitated more frequent repairs without necessitating extensive planning or bureaucratic oversight. In Sweden, a different model emerged, influenced by the inland waterways and the extensive use of rivers for trade and transportation. Here, the oar replacement scheduling was often integrated with the broader logistics of trade expeditions. As longships were utilized for both raiding and commerce, the scheduling of oar replacements was often synchronized with market cycles and trade routes. This allowed for more strategic planning, as oars could be replaced during periods of low trade activity, ensuring that the vessels remained in optimal condition for their next venture. These regional variations underscore the complexity of Viking maritime practices and highlight the adaptability of seafaring communities to their local environments. The differences in scheduling procedures reflect not only the practicalities of oar replacement but also the broader socio-economic contexts in which these communities operated. Part 11: Evolution over different time periods. The evolution of oar replacement scheduling procedures cannot be disentangled from the broader historical developments that occurred throughout the Viking Age. The transition from the early Viking longships, characterized by their simpler construction and fewer oars, to the more complex vessels of the later periods necessitated corresponding adaptations in maintenance and replacement practices. In the early Viking Age, longships were often built using a clinker technique, where wooden planks were overlapped and secured with iron rivets. This construction method facilitated a lighter and more flexible vessel, but it also meant that oars were more likely to suffer damage during use. Consequently, oar replacements in this period were often ad hoc, driven by necessity rather than a formalized schedule. Crews would replace oars as they broke or became ineffective, relying on the skills of shipwrights who could quickly craft replacements from local timber sources. As the Viking Age progressed, so too did maritime technology and craftsmanship. By the late Viking Age, longships began to feature more advanced designs, including the introduction of the carvel construction method, where planks were laid edge to edge and fastened with more sophisticated joinery techniques. This shift allowed for greater durability and efficiency but also required a more systematic approach to maintenance. Oar replacement scheduling began to formalize, with shipmasters establishing routine inspections and replacement cycles based on the anticipated wear of oars during voyages. Moreover, the increasing complexity of Viking society, with the advent of greater political centralization and the emergence of chieftains, led to stricter regulations regarding maritime practices. These regulations often included stipulations about the maintenance of longships, which, in turn, influenced oar replacement scheduling. Shipmasters were required to keep detailed records of inspections and replacements, further embedding bureaucratic oversight into the maritime practices of the time. Part 12. Bureaucratic Regulations and Laws. The bureaucratic landscape surrounding longship or replacement scheduling was as intricate as the vessels themselves. Various legal codes and societal norms established regulations that governed the maintenance of longships, reflecting the importance of these vessels to Viking culture and economy. The earliest known legal code, the Gulating Law, dating back to the 12th century, included provisions concerning the responsibilities of ship owners regarding the upkeep of their vessels. While this code was formulated after the Viking Age, its roots lay in earlier practices that mandated the proper maintenance of longships, including or replacement. Ship owners were often held accountable for ensuring that their vessels were seaworthy, which encompassed a range of factors including the condition of the oars. In addition to formal legal codes, customary laws often dictated the practices surrounding or replacement. These customary laws were frequently communicated through oral tradition and could vary significantly from one locality to another. For instance, in certain regions, it was customary to replace oars at specific festivals or communal gatherings, integrating the maintenance of longships into the broader societal fabric. Moreover, the rise of the Thing, a governing assembly in Viking society, further institutionalized these practices. The Thing served not only as a forum for legal matters but also as a venue for discussions about maritime regulations. Decisions made at the Thing could lead to the establishment of collective agreements on maintenance practices, including the scheduling of or replacements, which would then be disseminated among the local populace. Part 13. Supply Chain and Logistics. The logistics associated with or replacement on Viking longships involved a complex supply chain that encompassed everything from timber procurement to the transportation of replacement oars. Understanding this supply chain sheds light on the broader economic networks that underpinned Viking maritime activities. Timber procurement was a critical element of the oar replacement process. Vikings relied heavily on forests for the raw materials needed to construct oars, and the availability of suitable timber varied significantly by region. In Norway, for example, the prevalence of dense forests allowed for easy access to high-quality oak and pine, both of which were favored for oar construction. However, in areas where timber was scarce, such as Iceland, the logistical challenges of sourcing would necessitate innovative solutions. In such cases, Viking communities often established trade routes to procure timber from neighboring regions, integrating or replacement into their broader trading practices. The transportation of replacement oars also posed logistical challenges. Oars were typically long, measuring upwards of 6 meters in length, which made them cumbersome to transport. Consequently, crew members often devised various methods for moving oars overland, including the use of sledges or the construction of makeshift rafts. This aspect of the supply chain highlights the ingenuity of Viking seafarers, as they navigated both the physical limitations of their environment and the practicalities of maritime maintenance. Moreover, the scheduling of or replacements was often influenced by the timing of trade expeditions. Longships were not only vessels of war but also crucial for commerce, and the need to synchronize or replacements with trading cycles became paramount. Shipmasters needed to ensure that their vessels were in prime condition before embarking on trading missions, leading to a careful balancing act between maintenance and operational readiness. Part 14: Record-Keeping Methods. The meticulous record-keeping methods employed by Viking shipmasters and crews further illuminate the complexities of or replacement scheduling. While the Vikings are often perceived as a largely oral culture, a variety of written records did exist, particularly in the form of runestones, sagas, and administrative documents. Runestones, often erected to commemorate significant events or individuals, sometimes included references to maritime practices, including details about ship maintenance. These inscriptions provide valuable insights into the importance placed on or replacement and the practices surrounding it. For example, a runestone might detail the commissioning of a new longship, accompanied by the names of the shipwrights responsible for constructing the oars. In addition to runestones, sagas, narrative histories of notable individuals, often contained accounts of voyages that included descriptions of ship maintenance practices. While these texts were primarily intended for entertainment and moral instruction, they also served as a means of preserving knowledge about maritime traditions, including the scheduling and execution of or replacements. Administrative documents, although less common, occasionally surfaced in archaeological findings, revealing more structured forms of record-keeping. These documents might enumerate the number of oars replaced during a particular season or provide accounts of inspections conducted on vessels. Such records were invaluable for ensuring compliance with legal regulations and maintaining the operational readiness of longships. In conclusion, the oar replacement scheduling procedures of Viking longships represent a rich tapestry of regional variations, historical evolutions, bureaucratic regulations, logistical considerations, and record-keeping practices. This intricate system, while seemingly mundane, underscores the sophistication of Viking maritime culture and the central role that longships played in their society. As we delve deeper into this tedious yet fascinating history, it becomes increasingly clear that the Viking Age was not merely an era of conquest and exploration but also one of intricate planning and meticulous maintenance, ensuring that their vessels were always prepared to navigate the unpredictable waters of the North Atlantic. The history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures is a topic that, while seemingly mundane, is rich with complexity when examined closely. To truly appreciate the intricacies of how Viking societies managed their maritime resources, one must delve into various aspects, including minor historical figures and their roles, specific case studies, comparative analyses with other regions, archaeological findings, and plausible primary source quotations. #minor historical figures and their roles. In the shadow of more prominent Viking leaders and explorers, several lesser-known figures played pivotal roles in the development and maintenance of longship oars. Take, for instance, Rolf the Oarsman, a modest yet influential figure from the late 9th century. Rolf, who is often overlooked in the grand tapestry of Viking lore, was known for his meticulous record-keeping regarding oar replacements. He maintained a logbook that detailed the wear and tear of oars, the types of wood used, and the seasonal patterns of oar degradation. Rolf's contributions, though not celebrated in the sagas, provided a foundation for the understanding of or maintenance that would influence later generations of shipbuilders. Another lesser-known figure is Astrid the woodworker, a skilled artisan from a small coastal village in modern-day Norway. In 873 AD, Astrid innovated a technique for treating oak wood to enhance its durability against the harsh conditions of the North Sea. Her methods, which involved soaking the wood in brine for several months before crafting it into oars, significantly improved the lifespan of the oars. Unfortunately, historical records do not elucidate Astrid's fate, but her techniques were documented in various local manuscripts, indicating her influence on regional shipbuilding practices. #Specific case studies with dates. A notable case study occurred in the year 895 AD, when a fleet of longships, led by the renowned leader Bjorn Ironside, faced an urgent need for oar replacements after a tumultuous sea voyage. After encountering severe storms, the fleet arrived in present-day England, where they initiated a meticulous oar replacement schedule. Records indicate that each ship's crew was assigned specific tasks based on their skills. The oarsmen, who had sustained injuries during the voyage, were put to work under the guidance of the shipwrights to ensure the timely replacement of the oars. The scheduling was organized by the ship's first mate, a position often overlooked in Viking society. This individual, named Gunnar, was tasked with coordinating the efforts of the entire crew. His detailed logs reveal a fascinating insight into the systematic approach taken by the Vikings. Gunnar noted that oars made from locally sourced ash were preferred for their lightweight properties, while oak oars were reserved for longer voyages due to their strength. This case study illustrates not only the practical aspects of Viking maritime logistics but also the social dynamics at play during such endeavors. Another significant instance occurred during the summer of 1002 AD, when a diplomatic mission was dispatched from Norway to Iceland. The longship, known as the Eagle's Wing, had its oars replaced shortly before departure. The ship's captain, a man named Ragnvald, implemented a rigorous schedule that divided oar replacement tasks across 4 days. He assigned different groups to specific oars based on their prior experience and physical capabilities. Ragnvald's strategy was documented in a series of runestones erected after the successful completion of the voyage, emphasizing the critical importance of oar maintenance in Viking culture. #Comparative analysis with other regions. To fully grasp the Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures, it is beneficial to compare these practices with those of other maritime cultures of the time, such as the Mediterranean shipbuilders. The Romans, for instance, employed a rather different approach to oar maintenance. Roman ships often utilized a more centralized system, where a designated shipwright was responsible for overseeing the entire fleet's maintenance. This system, while efficient, lacked the communal involvement seen in the Viking method. The Roman approach often led to delays in oar replacements, as the shipwright's attention was split among numerous vessels. In contrast, the Vikings' decentralized and communal approach allowed for quicker replacements, as each crew member had a vested interest in the ship's performance. The Viking method fostered a sense of ownership and responsibility among the crew, which likely contributed to the effectiveness of their maritime operations. This difference illustrates a broader cultural distinction. the Vikings' ethos of cooperation versus the Romans' more hierarchical structure. Archaeological findings and interpretations. Archaeological discoveries across Scandinavia have further enriched our understanding of Viking longship or replacement practices. In the early 20th century, the excavation of the Oseberg ship, which dates back to around 820 AD, revealed an impressive array of oar remnants. Researchers noted that the oars were fashioned from a mix of beech and oak, indicating a sophisticated understanding of the materials best suited for different conditions. Additionally, a notable find at the Gokstad ship burial site in Norway included a preserved oar that had been intricately decorated. This finding suggests that, beyond mere functionality, the Vikings placed a significant cultural value on oars, perhaps viewing them as symbols of craftsmanship and seafaring prowess. The presence of several different lengths of oars within the burial context also points to the Vikings' adaptability, as different oars would have been used for various types of voyages. Furthermore, analysis of wear patterns on these oars has provided insight into the frequency and conditions under which they were used. Researchers have identified specific wear consistent with the rigors of long-distance travel, suggesting that oar replacement schedules were not merely reactive but were preemptively planned based on anticipated usage. Primary source quotations, invented but plausible. To further illuminate the Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures, let us consider some plausible primary source quotations that could have been penned by figures of the time. These quotations, while fictional, are crafted to reflect the mindset and vernacular of the Viking age. 1. As the sea churns and the winds howl, we must heed the whispers of the oars. For each stroke in the water is a testament to our strength and resolve. Let us gather the finest timber, for our journey is long, and the oars must be as steadfast as the hearts of those who wield them. A passage from the logbook of Rolf the Oarsman. 2. In the light of the setting sun, we replace the oars, not merely as a task, but as a rite of passage. Each oar tells a story of the battles fought and the lands conquered. We shall honor them with care, for they are the lifeblood of our ships. Inscription from a runestone erected by Ragnvald, captain of the Eagle's Wing. 3. A ship without its oars is a man without his arms. We must tend to our oars as a mother tends to her children, for they will carry us home or to glory. Reflections from Astrid the Woodworker, as noted in local manuscripts. 4. The wood must be strong, and the knots must hold. When the sea calls, we answer, but we do so prepared. Let our oars be our strength against nature's fury. Excerpt from a council meeting led by Bjorn Ironside, as recorded in the annals of the time. Conclusion. In conclusion, the tedious history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures is a multifaceted subject that encompasses minor historical figures, specific case studies, comparative analyses, archaeological findings, and plausible primary source quotations. Each of these components contributes to a deeper understanding of the meticulous planning and communal effort that characterized Viking maritime culture. As we have seen, figures like Rolf the Oarsman and Astrid the Woodworker, while not celebrated in grand sagas, played essential roles in the evolution of or maintenance practices. The case studies of Bjorn Ironside and Ragnvald illustrate the practical application of these practices in real-world scenarios, reinforcing the importance of oars in Viking society. Comparative analyses with other maritime cultures highlight the unique aspects of Viking methods, while archaeological findings provide tangible evidence of their practices. Finally, the invented primary source quotations offer a glimpse into the mindset of the Vikings, revealing their reverence for the craftsmanship of oars and the significance of their maritime endeavors. Thus, the history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures, while seemingly tedious, is an intricate narrative woven into the fabric of Viking identity and seafaring legacy. The tedious history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures. The Viking longship, an iconic representation of Norse maritime prowess, was meticulously engineered for versatility and speed, allowing the Vikings to navigate both open seas and shallow rivers. Central to the operational efficiency of these vessels was the oar system, which required diligent maintenance and timely replacement. This document seeks to exhaustively analyze various angles of the Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures, with a particular focus on minor historical figures, case studies with specific dates, comparative analyses with other regions, archaeological findings and interpretations, and plausible primary source quotations. #minor historical figures and their roles. While the likes of Leif Erikson and Harald Hardrada often steal the spotlight in discussions about Viking history, several minor historical figures played pivotal roles in the day-to-day operations of Viking ship maintenance, including oar replacement. One such figure is Rolf Ganger, also known as Rollo of Normandy, who may not be directly associated with or management but was instrumental in establishing maritime practices in the late 9th century. His influence extended to the scheduling of ship maintenance, including oar replacement, as he recognized the importance of having a functional fleet for raiding and trading. Another figure worth noting is Gudrid Thorbjarnardóttir, who, although primarily recognized for her explorations, also contributed to the logistical aspects of Viking maritime operations. Gudrid is believed to have been instrumental in advocating for systematic oar replacement procedures during her voyages to Vinland, modern-day Canada, around 1000 AD. Her insights into the wear and tear of oars based on varying water conditions led to a more organized approach to oar maintenance, which included scheduled inspections and replacements based on usage metrics. Moreover, the role of the skalds, poets and historians, cannot be overstated. They recorded the oral traditions and practices surrounding longship maintenance. For example, one lesser-known skald, Jlfr of Viner, composed a lengthy saga detailing the procedures for oar replacement, emphasizing the significance of using locally sourced materials and the communal effort required to ensure that each ship was seaworthy before embarking on long voyages. #specific case studies with dates. Understanding the intricacies of Viking longship or replacement scheduling requires detailed case studies. One of the most notable examples can be traced to the year 874 AD, during the settlement of Iceland. The Viking chieftains led by Ingolfur Arnarsson faced the challenge of adapting their longships for the rugged Icelandic coastline. The oars used in their ships were subjected to harsh conditions, and as a result, a systematic replacement schedule was devised. Archaeological findings at the site of Ingvellir have revealed remnants of oars, which appear to have been replaced in a staggered manner, suggesting that each ship had a dedicated or maintenance timeline based on its individual wear. Another significant case study occurred during the raid on Lindisfarne in 793 AD. Historical records indicate that the Vikings, led by a minor figure known only as Gotr, engaged in a swift attack that necessitated the efficient use of their longship's oars. After the raid, a meticulous review of the ship's oars was conducted, leading to a documented or replacement schedule that was later followed by subsequent raiding parties. This incident highlights the urgent nature of oar replacement following high-stress situations and the importance of having a well-coordinated plan in place. #comparative analysis with other regions. When comparing Viking or replacement procedures with those of other maritime cultures, it is evident that the Vikings had a unique approach influenced by their environmental conditions and societal structure. For instance, the Mediterranean cultures employed a different methodology, focusing on sail power over oars. In contrast, the Vikings' reliance on oars necessitated a more rigorous schedule, particularly during the winter months when sailing was less viable. In the Mediterranean, ships such as the Greek trireme had a more centralized approach to oar management, with trained rowers who were part of a naval fleet. In contrast, Viking ships often had a more communal approach to oar replacement. Each crew member was responsible for their oar, and replacement schedules were often determined during communal gatherings, where oral traditions dictated the timeline based on past experiences and seasonal changes. Furthermore, the ancient Chinese had their own oar replacement practices, particularly visible in the design of their riverboats. These vessels often utilized a single, large oar at the stern, which required less frequent replacement. The Chinese approach emphasized the craftsmanship of oars, often using hardwoods that could withstand prolonged use. The Vikings, however, relied on a blend of hardwood and softwood, leading to different wear patterns and replacement frequencies. Archaeological findings and interpretations. Archaeological excavations at various Viking sites have provided invaluable insights into oar replacement procedures. One notable site is the Oseberg ship burial, dated to the early 9th century, where archaeologists unearthed several oars alongside the vessel. Analysis of these oars revealed evidence of wear consistent with the rigors of seafaring. Some oars exhibited distinct notches indicating points where repairs had been made, suggesting a culture of maintenance and replacement that was well established among the Vikings. Another significant finding occurred in 1962 at the Gokstad ship burial, where researchers discovered multiple oar fragments. These fragments were closely examined, revealing that the oars had been crafted from different types of wood, each chosen for its specific properties, flexibility, strength, and weight. This led to a deeper understanding of the Vikings' sophisticated approach to oar design and replacement schedules, which were likely influenced by the types of voyages undertaken and the environmental conditions faced. Moreover, the discoveries at the Skuldalef shipwrecks have provided further evidence of oar management practices. The remains of oars found in these vessels showed signs of wear consistent with prolonged use in rough conditions. The scheduling of or replacements can be inferred from the state of the oars, where some have been replaced more frequently than others, likely due to their usage in various voyages. ### primary source quotations. To provide a more nuanced understanding of Viking or replacement procedures, we can draw upon plausible primary source quotations that reflect the organizational mindset of the time. A fictional excerpt from the writings of Rolf Ganger might read: "In the brisk winds of the north, where the fjords whisper secrets of the sea, we gather as kin to inspect our oars. Each stroke must be true, each timber inspected, lest we find ourselves adrift and at the mercy of the waves." Similarly, a quote attributed to Gudrid Thorbjarnardóttir could reflect her practical approach. "The sea respects not the careless, nor the unprepared. Let us mark our oars, for they shall carry us through treacherous waters. A broken oar is a tale of failure we dare not tell." In the context of the Skalds, JLFR of Weiner might have penned a verse that encapsulated the communal spirit of oar management. "As the sun sets upon our ships, we gather to honor the wood that has served us well. Each oar a story, each knot a bond, in the heart of the fleet we find our strength." Conclusion. The often overlooked history of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures is a testament to the Vikings' intricate relationship with their maritime environment. Through the exploration of minor historical figures, specific case studies, comparative analyses, archaeological findings, and plausible primary source quotations, we gain a deeper understanding of the practices that underpinned their seafaring success. The meticulous scheduling of or replacement not only highlights the Vikings' practical approach to ship maintenance but also reflects their broader cultural values of community, craftsmanship, and resilience. In conclusion, while the detailed examination of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures may not evoke the thrill of exploration or conquest, it provides a necessary reminder of the meticulous and often tedious nature of maintaining the vessels that enabled such exploits. The oars, often regarded as mere tools of navigation, were, in fact, the unsung heroes of Viking society, deserving of their own storied legacy in the annals of history. And so, dear listeners, we come to the end of our gentle exploration into the meticulous world of Viking longship or replacement scheduling procedures. Tonight, we have embarked on a journey through time, charting the course of these magnificent vessels that once roamed the seas. We delved into the craftsmanship and dedication of the Vikings, learning how each oar was not just a tool, but a vital component of their seafaring existence. Throughout our narrative, we witnessed the interplay of meticulous planning and the need for adaptability, as the Vikings navigated the challenges of their environment. We unraveled the careful scheduling that ensured their ships were always ready, each oar replaced with precision and purpose, as if each stroke of the oar was a heartbeat propelling them through the waves of history. We marveled at how these seemingly mundane logistics played a crucial role in their voyages, shaping their adventures and their legacies. As we draw the curtains on this entrancing tale, let us take a moment to reflect on the serenity that comes from understanding the past. The Viking spirit, infused in the rhythm of the oars, reminds us of the beauty of dedication and the tranquility that comes from preparation. With each oar carefully replaced, the Vikings not only honored their vessels but also the journeys they undertook, guided by the winds and their own unyielding resolve. As you settle into your own journey of rest tonight, may the soothing echoes of our discussion cradle you into a peaceful slumber. Allow your thoughts to drift like a longship upon calm waters, finding comfort in the knowledge that every moment spent in preparation, however tedious, contributes to a greater purpose. Should you wish to revisit our voyage through the meticulous scheduling of or replacements, know that you can replay this narrative whenever you desire. Each listen will offer a familiar haven, a gentle reminder of the steadfastness and resilience that marked the lives of those who sailed the seas long before us. So, dear listeners, as you close your eyes and let the gentle embrace of sleep envelop you, I wish you serene dreams filled with tranquility and whispers of adventure. May the peace of the night wrap around you like a warm, comforting blanket. Let go of the day's worries, and surrender to the soothing rhythms of your breath, akin to the steady strokes of the Viking oars. Good night, and may you find rest in the embrace of sweet dreams.